Okay, hopefully the neuromuscular junction has started to make a little bit of sense for you. The neuromuscular junction is again shown down here where we have the neuron stimulating the myocyte or the muscle cell using acetylcholine. Once you understand those events, there are things in nature. Some of these guys are going to be bacteria, some of them are plants, some of them are viruses that might ultimately affect muscle contraction. One such example is a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. This is an anaerobic bacterium, so it likes to live where there's very little to no oxygen. And this bacterium produces one of the most toxic substances identified on Earth. That substance is known as the botulinum toxin. And there's actually a number of toxins produced by this bacterium. The botulinum toxin is actually considered a neurotoxin because it targets neurons. And what the botulinum toxin does specifically is it causes a blockage of the exocytosis, or the release of acetylcholine from the neuron. And it's a very interesting mechanism, but this toxin will actually break and destroy a protein called a snare protein that's involved in attaching these vesicles to the plasma membrane so they can then release their contents. So the botulinum toxin gets into this end bulb and prevents these vesicles from releasing acetylcholine. And you can imagine if that happens, this muscle will not be able to be stimulated to contract. And if there's enough of this bacterium that gets ingested, or the toxin gets ingested, it can cause extreme paralysis called botulism, and it can even cause death to an individual by causing complete paralysis of your respiratory muscles. This is not a very common disease anymore because we have microbiologists that figured this out. And we make sure that when we prepare foods using canning, we destroy this microbe. This is a very tough microbe in that it is known to form little spores that are very resistant. So you really have to use a high temperature to destroy the spores. We call that using an autoclave. And back before we knew this, if we didn't prepare and can foods properly, this organism can grow inside canned goods because there's very little oxygen, and it loves the fact that there's very little oxygen. It was often called the sausage poison, which I found out it's not because you were getting it from sausage. It's actually because of the shape of the microbe. Kind of looks like a sausage shape microbe. But nowadays we use this toxin for a number of different medical treatments, and we call it Botox. We've probably heard of Botox in the form of cosmetic treatment to reduce wrinkles, but there's also a lot of other treatments that we're using Botox for. We're using it to treat migraines that might be due to overstimulation of skeletal muscles. We can use it to prevent eyes from crossing because eyes move based on skeletal muscles. We can treat uncontrollable blinking, vocal cord spasms, and we can treat a lot of back pain issues if the back pain is due to muscle contraction. One other use of Botox is to prevent sweating. The neurons that stimulate sweat glands also release acetylcholine. So if we inject Botox at those locations, the neurons cannot stimulate sweat production. So Botox is an interesting toxin in that it's one of these things that's highly toxic, very dangerous, but if used properly, it can have a lot of beneficial uses. So I put those X's there to represent where Botox works. So what Botox again does is blocks the neuron's release of acetylcholine. There's another class of agents that have been discovered that block the receptors. So this is a different mechanism of action, a different way to do it, but ultimately this muscle will not contract if you block the receptors. So these are called acetylcholine receptor antagonists. An antagonist is a blocker. There's a number of these that have been found in plants. So in South America, years ago, the Indians discovered that if they take this plant extract called curare and put it on their darts, they can paralyze their prey or even their predators. And this paralyzing poison is a acetylcholine receptor antagonist, and if you do that in high enough doses, an animal or a person's muscles can't contract and you can paralyze them. There's another drug called atropine, which was identified in plants as well. It's used as a drug that will cause dilation of pupils by causing relaxation of the iris. It also will increase your heart rate and can be used to get the heart beating again. This is an interesting one in that your heart rate is kept slow by acetylcholine. So if you block those receptors, the acetylcholine can't keep your heart slow, and therefore it will speed up. So this atropine can actually block a nerve called the vagus nerve, which keeps your heart rate slow. And then there's a number of muscle relaxants used during anesthesia that actually act at the acetylcholine receptors. So very common uses for acetylcholine receptor antagonists. There's another category, this is where the receptor antagonists work. They work by blocking those receptors. There's another category of agents called anticholinesterase agents. So these block, that's the anti, the acetylcholinesterase. Remember that acetylcholinesterase is an enzyme that removes acetylcholine. Well, these agents block that enzyme, anti. So acetylcholine is prevented from breaking down. So it prevents the removal of acetylcholine. If you prevent the removal of acetylcholine, acetylcholine stays in the cleft in high levels, and this can promote muscle contraction. If high doses are used, it can actually cause the muscle to stay in a contracted state. So these agents have pros and cons. They're actually they can act as antidotes for the previous slide. So if you're ever in South America and you get shot with a blow dart gun, if you had some of these agents, you would be able to reverse that effect. And vice versa. These can actually be very dangerous agents. For example, sarin gas is a weapon of mass destruction. Well, we have antidotes for sarin gas. It's the agents on the previous slide, like atropine. We don't use atropine, but atropine-like drugs can be used as an antidote for sarin gas. One of the positives of anticholinesterase agents is we can use it to strengthen weak muscles. There's a drug called neostigmine, which is used to strengthen muscle contractions in patients with myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis is a weakening of the muscles, and you can boost their contractions by giving neostigmine, which is an anticholinesterase. And then, like I mentioned previously, sarin gas or nerve gas is an organophosphate that does this. So organophosphate is just a chemistry name for these agents, but the sarin gas is a very, very powerful anticholinesterase and causes massive muscle contractions and can kill someone if you keep the diaphragm in a contracted state. There's also a number of pesticides used on farms and on grass that kill pests by blocking acetylcholine, or I should say blocking the enzyme acetylcholinesterase. Finally, there's a couple other microbes that also cause paralysis or weakening of muscle, like the polio virus. Polio is caused by a virus known as the polio virus, and this is a very, very tiny little virus that actually will attack and destroy somatic motor neurons. So you can imagine if you destroy motor neurons, that leads to very weak muscles and possible paralysis. But we're very lucky that we have vaccines. Vaccinations have nearly eradicated polio. There are still some cases of polio, especially in other worlds that don't vaccinate, or other countries that throughout the world that do not vaccinate. But we are very fortunate that we have access to the polio vaccine, so we don't see nearly as many polio cases as we did back in, say, the 40s and 50s. There's another microbe called Clostridium tetani. It's similar to the Clostridium botulinum in that it's an anaerobic bacterium. It's found in soil across the world, and if you get a lot of soil or dirt deep in a wound, and this microbe has produced enough of its toxin, the toxin results in very powerful muscle contractions called tetanus. And Clostridium tetani has been found to cause lockjaw, so that's overcontraction of muscles that control your mandible, and then it could progress throughout the body and cause powerful contractions throughout the body. This is another one you don't hear much about because there's a vaccine. So both polio and tetanus have been prevented by the use of vaccinations. The next video we're going to talk about how a muscle produces enough ATP to promote the muscle contractions.